We thank you for coming here today, Sheriff Box. We are the North Texas Council, Collin County Sheriff's Vetting Committee, and we are vetting all of the candidates for Collin County Sheriff. I'm going to read the rules for the vetting process here today. No one is allowed to be in the room except the vetting panel and the candidate. All electronics allowed in the room shall be turned off except laptops used by the vetting committee and the video recorders provided by the vetting committee. Cell phones or voice recorders shall be turned off in the room. No written material or notes may be taken by the candidate. North Texas Council vetting panel members and candidate agree that all questions and responses at this vetting session are to remain confidential property until videos are uploaded and considered public information on the North Texas Council website and/or alternate website. Verbal questions will be asked and verbal responses to those questions will be given with 1 to 2 minute responses for each question. The candidate will receive a copy of his or her vetting interview recording, upon which time the video is posted on the North Texas Council website and/or alternate website. And again, I say thank you for coming today, Sheriff Box.
Thank you.
We are going to introduce ourselves, the North Texas Council Vetting Committee for Collin County Sheriff. And Donald, would you like to start?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. My name is Donald Rutledge. I'm a registered voter in Allen, Texas.
And I'm Brian Gallimore from Allen, Texas.
I'm Barbara Harless from Murphy, Texas.
Thank you.
So if you will do us a favor at this time, Sheriff Box, if you will take 2 minutes and introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe perhaps why you're why you're running for sheriff.
Okay. My name is Terry Box. I'm currently sheriff in Collin County. I have been sheriff for the last 27 years. I have 43 years of law enforcement experience in Collin County. I worked at McKinney Police Department, Plano Police Department for 10 years, and Collin County Sheriff's Office. I have over 6,000 hours of law enforcement training and education. I run an office of 487 employees and approximately 1,000 inmates a day. I have been to several schools for training. I've also been president of our state sheriff's association in 2002, and in 1997 Governor George Bush then appointed me to the Texas Commission on Jail Standards. And that's the 9-member board that regulates all the jails in Texas. I had the privilege of being on that board for 7 years, and I was chairman of that board for the last 4 years of my term. Our jail here in Collin County has been state certified a record-holding number of 24 years in a row. And I, as sheriff for 27 years, knock on wood, have never settled a lawsuit for Collin County.
All right. Thank you.
How close was I 2 minutes on that one?
1 minute, 10 seconds. Would you like, you still got two
No, that's fine.
minute?
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Donald, do you want to start?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have 2 minutes on all these questions.
Okay.
First question, Sheriff. What is the most important job of a county sheriff?
Most important job of the county sheriff is to keep all the people safe in their homes and their businesses here in Collin County, and keep the jail of Collin County. We are the holder of all the prisoners in Collin County for all the area law enforcement agencies, including part of Dallas and part of Richardson. We are primarily responsible for all the rural areas, unincorporated areas of Collin County. That is approximately 60,000 people. It's the 5th largest city in Collin County, you might say, scattered across 900 square miles. That and enforcing the law as the chief law enforcement officer of the county, I'm also that responsibility, and meet and coordinate with other law enforcement agencies around Collin County to enforce the law and hopefully in a conservative manner and share assets.
Okay. The Bill of Rights was ratified in 1791. Not one of the first 10 amendments has been amended since ratification. Does this mean that the Bill of Rights mean today what they meant back in 1791?
Yes, they do. I believe they mean more so today because of shape our country's in currently, that we have to go back to those principles and take them to heart, enforce them, not add to them, not try to reinterpret the Bill of Rights, but enforce them and stand for the Bill of Rights.
The Second Amendment reads, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." What does the term militia mean?
Militia means, to me, in that connotation, the citizens of the county. Those are the people at the county that will stand behind, as me, sheriff. If I call a militia up, I have the right to call a militia as sheriff in Collin County. I, for one, back in 1997, went to the legislature with 3 other sheriffs in Texas and fought for the right to carry a concealed handgun license against the wishes of all the sheriffs, a lot of the police chiefs in Collin County. But we also fought in 95 and 97 to get that law passed. I stand behind the well-armed militia, and to me it will always be as such as long as I'm sheriff in Collin County.
Okay, Sheriff. What does well-regulated mean in the Second Amendment?
Well-regulated?
Yes, sir.
It means one that, to me, is possibly have training that has been. Well, I don't want to lie about that. Maybe I don't know what the well-regulated means. I'll just take that right.
Question number 5. Do we have any federal laws in violation of the Second Amendment? And if so, which ones?
I can't say that we have any federal laws currently that I can quote verbatim. I know for a fact that anytime a federal agency in Collin County or comes to Collin County, the sheriff will be notified. And also, I've been asked several times that, will there ever be a federal law or a federal agency come into Collin County and try to take our guns away or try to register our guns or have you bring them to the courthouse and see? That will never happen as long as I'm sheriff in Collin County. I strongly believe that the sheriff has authority over the federal agency when it comes to regulating firearms and the right to carry.
Do we have any state laws in violation of the Second Amendment, and if so, which ones?
I cannot recall off the top of my head right now any law, that state law that violates the Second Amendment at all. I cannot recall any right now.
Great.
Okay, Sheriff. Question number 7. What is the 2012 budget for the Sheriff's Department? And what percentage of the revenue is derived from the federal, state, and county sources?
The 2012 budget for the Collin County Sheriff's Office, including the detention center, is $37.5 million. That has grown from a few $1,000,000 back in the 80s to what it is today due to all of our growth in Collin County. The budget is made up, I'd say 95% of all county tax dollars. We are not a sales tax collector, so we only have to go on our county taxes is what helps pay for that sheriff's office and detention facility. I would say probably less than 1% is federal and probably less than 2% is state. The rest of it is probably county.
Okay. Question number 8. Acceptance of federal funds comes with, quote, strings attached. What areas do you see acceptance of federal funds to have undesirable consequences, and give 2 examples where we should refuse federal funds?
Anytime you are asking for federal funds, and we have asked for federal funds in the last few months only because of Frisco approached us to split a victims assistant coordinator for both Frisco Police Department and the Collin County Sheriff's Office. That's someone who will help the victims of crime recover and get them information on how to go through the system. That was a 3-year grant 100% paid for. I am not in the favor of getting federal or state grants whereby it's ongoing and you start paying 60%, 80%, 50%, 10%. One-time grant, if it's feasible to pay for a cause that we need budgeted for, I say possibly that could be looked at. I am not one to ask for or apply for many grants this year. I say that you still have to pay for those grants with your tax dollars. They're still building government.
All right. Where will you make cuts to the sheriff's budget, if any?
You know, after being real close and working hand in hand, we work pretty well 12 months a year with the Collin County budget and with our budget office and also the county staff. The only real problem that we're having is when it comes to manpower is your biggest expenses in your budget. It's not equipment, it's manpower. We have been short in patrol and have worked with Commissioner's Court this past year to get 3 deputies. We are going to change shifts. We're going to 10-hour shifts, to overlap shifts during the busy times of the day where we can have officers 2 shifts on at one time. We have developed a cops on patrol division in the last probably 3 or 4 years, and they're out patrolling free of charge for the county. We've also have reserve officers we use quite extensively too, where they come out and patrol during busy times and on the weekends. But the main thing that we're not growing the office, we are maintaining, and probably that we cut 2 years ago when the Commissioner's Court asked to cut your budget. I was the only department head that cut 6 employees out of my budget, the only one. Then after the budget was complete, they said you didn't have to cut them. I said, no, we can do it without it, we're going to do it without them. So we cut those 6 employees. And I do not see the office getting any bigger this next year. Possibly with some patrol officers, maybe 3. We have a plan to add 3 for 3 years. Possibly add 3 patrol officers.
All right, Sheriff. Question number 10. What will you propose to increase the sheriff's budget?
Like I said, the only thing that we might increase this next year, and we worked with the Commissioner's Court this past year to work out a long-range plan to help us. We're having some problems of coverage areas and response times. Our response times right now for emergency calls is about 17 minutes. It should be a little bit less. Our non-emergency calls response times are about 30 minutes. If you have a live situation, threat situation, we can be there in about 7 minutes by calling other agencies like Farmersville, Princeton, Melissa, Plano, or whatever, to go out in those areas and assist us quickly to get to those residences. But 16 to 17 minutes is our time. All that being said, we were about 12 short in patrol division, and we worked out a system possibly to add 3 per year for a 3 to 4 year period. And after we get these 10-hour shifts going the next few months, we finally hire the 3 people, and we're going to see how that works out, either to go back and ask for 3 more this next year or give the commissioner some update on how our response time is being handled better.
Question number 11. To what extent should the Collin County Sheriff uphold his sworn oath or affirmation to protect and defend the privacy clauses of the Constitution?
Where or when?
To what extent?
To 120% of the to uphold privacy rights. No question.
All right. The Fourth Amendment states, or reads, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Do you believe that the IRS conducting random audits on innocent citizens is a proper and constitutional procedure?
Random audits, I would not say it would be proper to come to your house and do any kind of search on your house. if they have the paperwork already in their hands in their office to do random audits, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But you need to kind of come into your house and things of that nature, and searching your house for any kind of reason for random, unless they have to have probable cause. All in probable cause. If they don't have probable cause, they have no right to do any kind of search or any kind of random audit. That's just the way it is.
Okay, Sheriff. Question number 13. What is a fusion center, and what is the relationship between the Collin County Sheriff's Department and the North Central Texas Fusion Center in McKinney?
The Fusion Center is a sharing of information center that was formed a few years ago due to the fact that if someone was in Plano, Allen, or McKinney and they were around a school and they were bothering little kids, or the officer came out and checked someone out around the school, if they left them to Plano from McKinney, Plano would check that person out. They'd have no idea they just did McKinney an hour ago. This Fusion Center takes all of our data of who we stop, who we invest, who we on traffic, what calls we answer, and if that person travels between our cities in Collin County and is doing some activity that we were stopped for earlier, that gives them information, the officer probable cause to say, hey, they're just around the school in McKinney, just around the school in Plano, and now they're somewhere in Allen. That's the sharing of information between law enforcement. That's what the Fusion Center means to me. And also, they do medical alerts for hospitals. If there's a natural disaster, they know immediately how many hospital beds are available where. They also know any kind of chemical spill. They have a way of getting out information to people downwind. It's kind of a, to me, how law enforcement uses it is a tool for advising, sharing of information. And also on the national level, they do give us security alerts if someone in our area or someone is stopped in our area and on a nationwide watch. It'll also provide that information also.
What is the role and the duty of the Sheriff's Department relative to immigration laws?
The role is like any other law enforcement agency. If you refer to 287G, we have a full-time ICE agent, Immigration Customs Enforcement agent, in our bookend area at the Collin County Sheriff's Office. The only other agency is Harris County. They cross-train some of their detention officers in the laws of immigration. We thought it was better to have INS or ICE to station someone in our bookend area. They're there at least 8 hours a day. If we have anybody brought in, if they cannot prove citizenship or we have any question about that, they're turned over to that ICE agent. If the ICE agent is not present, they're carried to a room where that phone is picked up, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that person on the other end that works for ICE will interrogate that person to see if they're a citizen or not a citizen. If they're not, there'll be a hold placed on that person immediately, and whatever their charge is, and once they go through the court system and they get through with their charges, then they're turned over to the ICE agent. We do not have any, if we stop someone on traffic or answer a call and we come across someone that's not a legal citizen, they are then brought in for the charges and brought in and also filed on for being in violation of the Immigration Act.
What does the Texas Constitution have to say about illegal immigration, and what power does the sheriff have to combat illegal immigration?
We have the power we do not have federal power to enforce immigration laws. No law enforcement agency in Texas or the United States other than federal agency can enforce immigration laws. And that is saying that if you go out just to investigate someone for immigration violation, if we come across them in the regular charge of our duties, and we also find out they're not legal, they're illegal immigration, we can then bring them in and arrest them for that charge. But we can't go out to some business or school and just open the door and say, we're here to investigate illegal immigration. Texas Constitution is I cannot quote exactly what it has in it. I cannot.
All right. Question number 16, Sheriff. Habeas corpus prevents the individuals from being indefinitely without probable cause or evidence. Who has the authority to suspend habeas corpus? And under what circumstances would you follow orders to suspend habeas corpus?
Well, this comes back to now, Jock, remember about the NDAA Act that will not happen. There's no one going to be detained in Collin County by a federal agency or whatever without probable cause, without habeas corpus, without a right to attorney. I do not believe that is constitutional to do so. I do not think the president has that power to do that.
Okay. Number 17, martial law is imposition of a military rule by military authorities over designated regions. Who has authority to declare martial law in Collin County, and what would be a valid reason for enforcing martial law?
I don't think anyone has authority to issue a charge of martial law in Collin County. I think if there's some kind of disaster or some kind of rioting or some kind of situation like that, there can be legal acts taking place to safeguard people in their house and their business and their person. But I don't think anyone in Collin County has the right to issue martial law.
If the federal government or the United Nations were to implement a policy of door-to-door gun confiscation in your jurisdiction, what would you do?
They would not be allowed to come into Collin County and go door to door. I have that authority to share constitutional law. They will not come into this county as long as I'm sheriff and do that. I have made that comment about a year ago, the same effect. That will not happen in Collin County. I would take whatever action necessary. I would probably contact, exactly what I'd probably do is contact some attorneys that I know and see what I'd have to do legally to get that stopped immediately and what orders would have to be placed. Like if it took all the way calling the governor's office, it would not happen in Collin County.
Question number 19, Sheriff. Checkpoints. In what instances are checkpoints lawful?
Lawful? I think that'd be a question, would it be lawful or not, unless they're appealed or what somebody's filed on for it. We do not currently have checkpoints, but the sheriff's offices, I know Plano used to have BWI checkpoints certain times of the night, late at night, where everyone was stopped. If anybody had been drinking, they could be thoroughly investigated. I don't know of any other that I've known in Collin County checkpoints. I think they could be legal. It could be legal if you're having a big problem in a certain area. You're having a lot of wrecks, a lot of people killed by car wrecks for drinking while driving. I think you could possibly have a checkpoint, but I don't know if they would stand the test of time taken to a court of law.
All right, number 20, NDAA sections 1021 and 1022. Some people interpret the NDAA to allow indefinite detention of lawful American citizens without due process. What is your interpretation, and does NDAA allow for indefinite detention of American citizens?
I think it does. The way I've read it, the way I read the law, it does state that you have indefinite time to do that without probable cause, and I think that is highly unconstitutionally legal.
And this is your last question. Congress recently passed nationalized health care. It appears that all citizens will be required by law to participate in this federal health care regulation. If citizens in your jurisdiction refuse to accept or use this federal program, and you are ordered to cite or arrest such troublemakers, what will you do?
You know, I've thought about that in the last few years. Probably just like the gun question a while ago. I'd probably have to research with some attorneys in the DA's office. I would not arrest anybody for not having health care. I think that's an unenforceable act. I think it would be hard to stand up in a court of law, but I as one would not have anyone arrested in my jurisdiction for failure to get health care. And I don't think anybody can force me to arrest anybody either.
Great.